Picture this. Tim, a man of refined tastes, finds himself in the most unexpected of situations. Tim, a man as sophisticated as a glass of aged whiskey, with a wit as sharp as a stiletto heel, is our protagonist. His life, much like a sitcom, is filled with unusual encounters and bizarre happenings. It's as if he's been handpicked by the universe to be its personal amusement park, a reluctant hero in a comedy of errors. Tim is your everyday man. Well, if your everyday man had the peculiar knack for stumbling into the extraordinary. His life, much like his personality, is anything but ordinary. It's as if he's been handpicked by the universe to keep things interesting. A magnet for mayhem, a beacon for bloopers, and a magnet for the most peculiar circumstances. Now, Tim isn't a man who seeks out trouble. Oh no, trouble, it seems, has a way of finding him. Like a moth to a flame or a child to an ice cream truck. It's an irresistible force. It's this uncanny ability that leads Tim on a series of misadventures, each one more absurd than the last. His stories are the kind that make you chuckle, shake your head, and say, "Only Tim." The kind that are filled with love, lust, and laughter. And yes, a healthy dose of sarcasm. Because let's be honest, what's a good story without a little snark? From misplacing his car in the parking lot to accidentally attending a yoga retreat for geriatric hippies, Tim's tales are nothing short of riotous. His life is like a never-ending comedy sketch, and he, the unwitting star who can't seem to catch a break. But here's the thing about Tim. He doesn't let these bizarre happenings dampen his spirits. Instead, he embraces them. He finds humor in the chaos, laughter in the absurd, and in doing so, teaches us to see the lighter side of life. And so Tim, the magnet for mayhem, embarks on another unpredictable day. As the sun rises, Tim stumbles upon something, or rather someone, that would make his heart skip a beat. Picture this: a man of few words, a self-proclaimed bachelor, running into the most enchanting woman he's ever seen. Talk about a dramatic turn of events. Tim, our rather clumsy protagonist, wasn't much of a believer in love at first sight. But life, with its delightful sense of irony, decided to put him in a situation that would challenge his beliefs. And it did so with a dash of humor and a generous helping of awkwardness. In the midst of nature's serenity, Tim met her. The woman who would soon be the object of his affection, the woman who would make him question his staunch bachelorhood. And how did they meet, you ask? Well, in the most Tim way possible, by literally stumbling upon her during his morning jog. He tripped over a rock and landed right at her feet. He looked up to see her laughing heartily at his plight, her eyes twinkling with mirth. Now imagine this: Tim, all red-faced and disheveled, trying to regain his composure, while she, in all her radiance, extended a hand to help him up. The moment their hands touched, he felt a jolt. Not of pain from the fall, but something entirely different. It was as if electricity coursed through his veins. It was a sensation he'd never experienced before, and it left him utterly bewildered. He spent the rest of the day in a daze, replaying the incident over and over in his mind. He couldn't get her out of his thoughts. Her laughter echoed in his ears. Her eyes haunted his dreams. He was smitten, and he didn't even know her name yet. In the days that followed, Tim, who was once averse to the idea of love, found himself yearning for it. He longed for her company, her laughter, her presence. And just like that, Tim, the bachelor, was smitten. With Cupid's arrow lodged firmly in his heart, Tim decides he must learn the art of flirting. Yes, folks, our hero of the hour is determined to charm his way into the heart of his newfound love. But as we're about to see, flirting is a language that Tim speaks with a heavy, and I mean heavy, accent. Picture this: Tim standing in front of the mirror practicing what he believes to be smoldering looks. He squints his eyes, lowers his chin, and ends up looking more like he's battling a particularly stubborn bout of constipation, rather than oozing charm and allure. But our man is nothing if not persistent. He decides to try his hand at pickup lines next. "Are you a magician?" he asks his reflection. "Because whenever I look at you, everyone else disappears." It's a good thing mirrors can't cringe, because I'm sure his reflection is doing just that right about now. And then there are the compliments, or what Tim believes to be compliments. "Your eyes are like the morning sun," he tells his love interest. "Bright, warm, and blindingly painful if stared at directly. Talk about a backhanded compliment, Tim. But let's not be too harsh on our friend here. He does manage to score a few minor victories, like the time he managed to make her laugh with his self-deprecating humor, or when he bravely stepped out of his comfort zone to learn about her interests. It's in these genuine moments that Tim's charm truly shines through. So yes, Tim's journey into the world of flirting is filled with more blunders than triumphs. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? He's trying, he's learning, and most importantly, he's not giving up. And who knows, maybe one day he'll master this puzzling art of flirting. Who knew flirting could be such a battlefield, eh, Tim? Armed with his newfound skills, Tim gears up for his first date. What could possibly go wrong? Well, let's dive into the story. Tim, our ever-so-hopeful protagonist, had chosen the perfect outfit. It was a mix of casual and formal, or as he liked to call it, casual formal. He was eager, he was nervous, but more than anything, he was ready to charm. The venue was a quaint little cafe known for its ambiance and coffee. Tim, a non-coffee drinker, had spent the previous night researching the difference between a latte and a cappuccino. He was determined not to let his lack of coffee knowledge be his downfall. Upon her arrival, Tim stood up, knocking over his chair in the process. A minor mishap, he thought, brushing it off with a nervous laugh. His date, amused by his clumsiness, joined in the laughter. Their date was off to a stumbling start, quite literally. Tim, in his quest to impress, ordered the most exotic-sounding coffee on the menu. When it arrived, it turned out to be a cup of black coffee with a hint of chili. Every sip was a fiery journey down his throat. His eyes watered, his face turned red, but Tim, ever the trooper, continued to sip away, pretending to enjoy the exotic taste. In between the fiery sips and awkward silences, Tim tried to keep the conversation going. He spoke about everything from climate change to his favorite superhero. His date, a comic book enthusiast, corrected him every time he mixed up his superheroes. Tim's face turned a shade redder with each correction, matching the fiery coffee he was sipping. As the date neared its end, Tim, in a desperate attempt to salvage the situation, decided to crack a joke. It was a joke so bad it made dad jokes seem like comedy gold. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the sound of Tim's nervous laughter. Well, that was a date, right, Tim? After a series of misadventures, Tim has a revelation. The world of romance may not be his cup of tea. Tim, our hero of sorts, found himself sitting alone, contemplating his recent foray into the world of romance. After a series of laughable missteps, a date that felt more like a comedy of errors than a romantic rendezvous, and a flirtation technique that could be best described as unique, Tim was left wondering if the world of romance was really for him. His mind started to wander. He thought about the peaceful simplicity of his life before he decided to dive headlong into the whirlpool of love, the calm of his evenings spent with a good book, or the thrill of his solo hiking trips, the contentment of his own company, and the joy of seeking out new adventures. He realized he had been chasing after love, thinking it was the missing piece in his life, when in fact, he had been perfectly happy all along. And then it dawned on him. The realization was like a fresh breeze after a storm. It wasn't love that he was missing. It was the adventure, the thrill of discovery, the joy of exploring new territories, the satisfaction of overcoming challenges. He had been so focused on finding the one, he had forgotten about his own happiness. With a chuckle, he realized his misadventures in love weren't failures, but rather a detour on his journey. They were a reminder of his own quirks, his uniqueness, and his love for the unexpected. He had been trying to fit into a mold when he was meant to break free and carve his own path. In a world that often equates happiness with finding a partner, Tim chose to focus on his own happiness. He decided to embrace his quirks, his love for adventure, and his independence. He realized that love could wait, but his thirst for adventure couldn't. And so, Tim decided, love could wait. Adventure couldn't. Tim, the man who once chased love, now chases life's little absurdities with a smile. Remember our friend Tim? Our protagonist who once spent his days in a whirlwind romance? Well, he's turned a new leaf. He's traded the pursuit of love for something far more unpredictable, the chaos and absurdity of life itself. And boy, does he relish it. You see, Tim's life is a symphony of spontaneity. He's the guy who would rather dance in the rain than carry an umbrella. He's the chap who would skip a 5-star dinner for a spontaneous picnic under the stars. He's the sort who would take a wrong turn deliberately just to see where the road leads. In this chaotic world, Tim has found his playground. He thrives on unpredictability, revels in the unexpected. He doesn't just roll with the punches, he anticipates them, grinning all the while. Tim's life has become an exquisite dance with chaos, a dance he leads with gusto. But don't be fooled, this isn't a tale of a man losing his way. It's a story of a man finding a path less trodden. It's about a man who's discovered that life's greatest joys don't always come neatly packaged. They are hidden in the messiness, the randomness, the chaos. Tim's adventures, or rather misadventures, are a testament to his newfound philosophy. He's the guy with mismatched socks, the guy who laughs when he trips, the guy who finds joy in a flat tire on a country road. Because for Tim, these aren't inconveniences. They are opportunities for laughter, for memories, for stories. His life is a collage of these quirks and eccentricities, a testament to his love for the unpredictability of existence. He's learned to ride the wave of chaos, to harness its energy and turn it into joy. And in doing so, he's found a kind of happiness that's entirely his own. And there you have it, folks, the tale of Tim, a man who found love, lost it, and discovered something far more precious, a love for life's absurdities. As the sun sets on another chaotic day, Tim is content. Love may not have worked out, but life is good. Tim's journey has been one for the books, brimming with hilarity, coated with charm, and sprinkled with a hint of sarcasm. He's learned that love, like life, is unpredictable and often absurdly funny. The misadventures, the unexpected encounter with love, the crash course in flirting, the unforgettable date, the jarring realization, and finally embracing the chaos. Each chapter has added to Tim's story, crafting a tale that's as unique as it is relatable. In the end, Tim's not just a character. He's an embodiment of our own experiences, our own stories of love, loss, and laughter. He's a reminder that life, in all its absurdity, is meant to be lived, loved, and most importantly, laughed at. And so, we leave Tim to his adventures, reminding us all to embrace the absurdities of life. After all, who knows what tomorrow brings?